You're watching the Cornwall Channel. I'm Shane Solomon, and today on the show we are joined by the beautiful Balvinder Sopal. Balvinder, welcome to Cornwall and the Cornwall Channel. How are you?
I'm really good, and thank you for having me.
It's an absolute pleasure.
It's a pleasure to be here. I mean, Cornwall is stunning.
Now, I've got to say right from the outset, now I shouldn't be doing this interview. I'm grateful, of course, to meet you. I was going to meet you anyway because I produce here. But Lewis Nichols was meant to be doing this interview. So big love to Lewis because he should be here.
Yeah.
Your thoughts on Lewis? He's a darling, isn't he?
He's a wonderful, wonderful person. And I'll tell you what, I've done quite a few interviews in my career. And I think I have to say, this is no offence to anybody, but he has been one of the best interviewers that I've ever sat with. It's just felt like sitting with an old pal, just having a chat. He's really warm and welcoming and easy to talk to. So yeah, and I've watched that interview back about 4 times myself.
Do you know what? I watched it because obviously you do a bit of research about people and things, and I had to pick up on the wet breaks. I'm going to do it straight from the start.
Straight there.
All right, because you mentioned about wet breaks in the interview with Lewis. So tell the viewers, if they haven't seen it, what wet breaks are.
So I'm sure wet breaks was a thing, like when I think there's still a thing now. Basically what would happen is if it rained, there would be 2 rings of a bell to signify that it was wet break, and you'd have to stay inside. Yeah. And you'd either have to stay in your classroom, or they would open up the hall, you know, the assembly hall where you'd all sit in the morning and sing hymns and just think what the hell's going on. Yeah. And you would sit in there for 15 minutes, and that was wet break. So it was to keep you safe from the rain.
Yeah, well, see, I used to have these. I used to look forward to this. And Lewis is like, he's never heard of them.
I absolutely cracked up. He must have thought I was mental. Like, what is she talking about, wet breaks?
Yeah, and I always used to look forward to it. I didn't want to go outside. I'd rather stay in, and it was...
Yeah, but, well, we hoped that it was always a wet break, because you're right, like, you'd have to run around otherwise for 15 minutes.
Yeah,
just exhaust yourself.
Just keep me in. So you arrived in Cornwall last night, and I managed to book you into the very busy and popular Rebellion restaurant.
Lovely.
You were in Charlestown. What's your initial thoughts of Charlestown?
Breathtakingly beautiful. It's lovely to come out of like city sort of landscape and just allow your eyes to focus on something that's a lot bigger than you are, if you know what I mean. Because I think it gets really sort of close. Where I come from, it's a small town, and there's not a lot of scenery around. It's all built up, you know, sort of really busy roads and people shouting at each other. It was really lovely to just come here and just be able to breathe and see the sea and feel the sea air. Like, our hair went really curly at the end of the day.
I don't know what that's like, but you know.
But I love the air in my hair. It just, so you just look different as well, you know, sort of see yourself in the mirror like, oh God, I feel like I've caught a tan. I mean, you know, but it's been really lovely, really serene.
It must be really manic for you at work and what you do, and there's so much to talk about, but it's not all about EastEnders, your background. Where did the love of acting for you come from?
Do you know, I always get asked this question, and I'm really not 100% sure, because I think it's, and this sounds really sort of typical of an actor to say, but I've always been interested in performing arts. I've always wanted to tell stories. I've always wanted to connect to people through telling stories. And so I think theatre or street theatre, you know, was always the way to do it. Like, nobody in my family has gone into the performing arts. Nobody's in the entertainment industry. We're all, you know, sort of like, my dad is a taxi driver. My mum did a fine art degree, but that was in India. She came to England in the 70s and was a seamstress, a brilliant one at that.
Right. Sounds, isn't it?
Yeah. And now they're both retired. You know, so nobody ever had that creative flair or anything, and none of my cousins. So I don't know where it came from. All I know is that I really enjoyed watching Bollywood movies. I loved all the colour and the songs, and we were just jumping out of trees and like this epic kind of, you know, almost musical bursting out of the telly and going, I want a part of that, I want a piece of that. And then I just, Did
you ever get the kind of it's not a real job thing? Did anyone ever say to you can't do acting, you need to get a career in accountancy, or you can't do it? Did you ever get that, and how did you overcome that?
Well, I think like my parents, and rightly so, they were worried that you couldn't really make a career or a living out of acting, because it's feast or famine, you know.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's never, you know, and that's the thing, is like once you finish a theatre job, you're always chasing the next one, so you never really have the opportunity to sit and enjoy the fruits of your labour, if you like. You're just sort of going, right, what's next? And I think Mum and Dad weren't too keen on that, and they were like, you want an easy life, you know, you want the money to come in, and you want status, and you want reputation and respect. And I'm like, I can still do that being an actor. And I also think from the Asian perspective, from the South Asian cultural perspective, being an actor was very closely linked to prostitution, because you're selling your wares.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's really interesting. Mum's like, no, it's not a respectable job, you can't do that. But I don't know, there was just this drive in me that just went, no, I need to tell stories, and I want to tell stories for the betterment of humanity, for my fellow people. It sounds quite big and sort of, I don't know, self-righteous, but it's not. It wasn't about that. It was just wanting to create an act. And then I did a degree in theatre studies with media, because Mum and Dad were like, well, if the theatre doesn't work out, at least you've got the media to fall back on. You could become a journalist, which is fine, you know. And I was like, but what if I have to go to somewhere like Iraq, and you know? But that was all right, because it was a respectable job, you know. It's just interesting. And then when I finished my degree, I was like, right, I'm going to give myself 6 months to get a theatre job or a job within the creative arts industry and make my parents proud, so that they can't go, it was a waste of 3 years. Yes. What are you doing with your life? Excuse me. And I think they still, for a couple of years, thought that I had wasted my degree. And then it was only when I started working for BBC Radio, or for BBC Asian Network, we did a soap called Silver Street, that was in 2004, that they were like, yes, our daughter's an actress, yes, she works on the radio, she's an actress. And then everybody was like, oh, this is real, she's not just messing about. Yeah. But what people forget, right, is that being in the creative industry gives you a lot more than just, the skill set is vast. You know, you've got people skills, you're able to tell stories, you're able to communicate, you exercise empathy and sympathy, you put yourself in the shoes of other people who don't have what you have, and you can sort of connect.
Absolutely.
Do you know? So for me, that was important as well, to understand someone else's plight. So yeah, and I think Mum and Dad respect that much more now than they did.
Absolutely. Well, I remember, I mean, I've said to you that when I was younger, much younger, I used to sing a little bit, and I was never really that good, but I was full of passion, full of energy. And in the early days of me setting up singing, my parents were like, oh, be careful, you know, you're spending too much money on speakers and microphones. But now they're the biggest fans, so it's funny, isn't it?
You've got to show them that you can do it.
Exactly.
You know, because I think that's the thing, is that they're worried about your security. Because being a doctor or a lawyer or, you know, a businessman or whatever, you've got the money coming in. But
I always believe if you can see it in your mind, you can hold it here, but you've got to take action, of course. You know. Yeah. Now, I'm only going to just talk about it briefly, because obviously it's part of your life, your career, and that is EastEnders. It's a huge show. I mean, crikey, Moses, how do you even go from everything you've worked on in the past, and obviously you're very big in theatre and radio, how do you walk into that scenario on set, first day? You know, what's it like? How do you describe that?
So my first day was quite a shell shock, actually. And my first scene of the day was in the CAF with Gillian Wright's character, who plays Jean. And I kind of walked into the green room area. We had a green room at the time, so there were sofas and things. And I was sat down, and the first assistant director came out. She said, right, Bal, you're on. And I said, all right, where do I go? She said, it's just behind you. I was like, oh, right, okay, yeah, cool. As I walked through the door, she handed me a pink sheet. A pink sheet is an amendment. Oh. And I was like, what's this? And she went, yeah, so you've got a line amendment. I was like, what the hell? No, seriously? Yeah. She went, yeah, take a minute. I was like, take a minute. I'm going to need like a whole day. You know, and it was just one line. Yes. But even one line. And the fact that you're working with somebody who's been on the show for such a long time, is an iconic character, loved by the audiences. you know, you want to come in and you want to match the energy they give you. You want to show your worth, kind of thing. And I thought, this is going to absolutely ruin it because I don't know what I'm saying. And then I walked on set and I was like, oh my God, it's the cab, I can't believe it. And I was like, can I please take a moment? Like, I just need to take a moment. It's much smaller than it actually is.
Of course, yeah.
And I was like, I can't believe this. And then it was over.
Yeah.
Then it was over so quick. And I was just like, wow, what just happened? And then my next scene of the day, I think it was, or the week, was on the square. And I walked from the Vic side onto Bridge Street, I think it is, gosh, and just went, okay, I need to stop. You've got to give me the moment to just soak it all up. And I can hear Angie and Den, and I can see Lofty and Michelle.
So much history there.
So much history. And you're walking in the footsteps of these people that you watched as a child.
That's what,
that was, you know, regular viewing in your household on a Sunday. We'd make the roast and then we'd sit down and it was just...
The omnibus, they used to have that on Sunday,
the omnibus,
Oh my goodness.
We used to wait for the omnibus because I think it was too late to watch it after school.
Yes.
So on a Sunday we'd be getting our school uniforms ready. Mum and Dad would have the dinner on. We'd clean our rooms. We'd get showered. We'd sit and went, right, that's it. Let's watch it. And
it's like an all-you-can-eat buffet of TV. Like,
you know, and it was brilliant. My brother was an avid fan. He still is.
Yeah.
And when I sent them a text message of this, I sent them the sign of Albert Square and went home for 6 months because they gave me a contract for 6 months. And the text message came back, no way, like, no way, you're lying. I went, I'm not. Because I didn't tell anybody either, because you sort of go, you don't want to big it up and it doesn't happen.
That's right, exactly.
You know, and then your dreams are crushed and then you've got to explain to everybody why it didn't happen or what. So I thought, I'll keep it under my hat for now.
Yeah, I get like that with interviews. When I find out I'm interviewing someone, and I'm like, I'm not going to say anything until it happens, because
until it happens,
you know, and that's why I wouldn't say anything about interviewing you, because you know, some things get cancelled, and you're like, oh no, this is not good.
Yeah.
Now, Steve Mcfadden, who plays Phil Mitchell, and a lot of people think that I'm his twin or something. But
his younger brother.
We've got a wonderful clip of Steve saying that he watches the Cornwall Channel because we've had a stint on Sky and things like that. Now, what's it like meeting characters like that who's really been in the show for, you know, a long time? Yeah,
I was initially very scared, and I'd only seen Steve Mcfadden in passing. And so you sort of, you know, your first day or first couple of months, you know, you want to not necessarily make friends with everybody, but you want to be polite, you know, you're sort of saying hello and, you know, making sure that... like, I don't know, maybe there's some kind of connection that you want or something. Anyway, and I'd see him pass me. I'd be like, oh, hiya, all right. And we hadn't done a scene yet. But I was walking with my slippers through the green room, and he came out of the studio and was going up to his dressing room. He passed me, went, pick your feet up! And I just went... like, turned around, looked at him, and he laughed, and I was like, "Oh, okay, this is all right."
Oh,
and
that's right. I
you know,
was going to say.
No, he was fine. And then I had my scene with him, and I just thought, God, if I don't bring it, you know, he's going to think I'm a really bad actor, and I don't deserve to be here, and all that kind of stuff.
You're fantastic.
Oh, bless you. But he was. The thing about Steve Mcfadden is that he's a very giving actor.
Right.
So, and not just from a professional point of view as well. We sat and we had a chat and we were talking about cars, and because I was in the process of, wanting to buy a car, and he was recommending, you know, why don't you get a Polo? I think a Golf would be more suited to you. And I was like, yeah, but I want a Mini. And so we were talking about cars. Okay. And I just thought, this is really lovely. He's a really nice man. Yeah. And then on set, he was just like full of ideas, did what he did. And I was in awe, and I just went up to him. I said, Steve, this is a career highlight for me. And he was like, bless you, darling. But it was, you know, because I'd watched him for forever. But yeah, he's the nicest man ever.
Well, I've got a couple of questions here. I did ask the viewers.
Oh,
we've got quite.
Did?
I did.
Okay.
You know, if I can ask any question to you today. So I've got two. I've picked two of them.
Okay.
And this comes from Paul Woolgar, who's a big supporter of the Cornwall Channel. So thank you, Paul, for your question. How does it feel to be Wolford's Queen of Mean? Well, that's a great way of putting that.
That's a good one.
There's your first one. How does it feel?
How does it feel? Okay. I think initially I didn't want it. And I was like, I don't want to play a horrible character. Like, I want to be a character that everybody loves.
Indeed.
You know, because that's where I don't know, you just want to be loved, don't you? But what I'm learning about Suki Panesar, or Suki Panesar, is that she is a character that people love to hate.
Yes.
And I think that's brilliant, and that's much more interesting and exciting for me, because I can play the complete opposite to who I am.
Yes.
And just excavate, the dark sort of side of my character, as it were, because I've got to bring it, So yeah, I would happily take that title and run with it. Thanks.
Excellent, superb. Well, the other one I've got here is from Dan Stodden, and he says, she's already seduced Peter Beale. Who else would she like her character to seduce or have a secret affair with to get the viewers talking?
Oh gosh, that's a question.
Out of all the cast, not the cast.
See, there's a part of me that thinks that because people tend to get paired up with people in order for storylines to happen, and I don't think that's necessarily, an interesting way to play things. So I'm like, what about if we kept Suki so celibate and so hardline that she, that she didn't have an affair or anything with anybody, and everybody was like, what is it about this woman? Who's going to crack her next? Kind of thing. She's that sort of iced, cut off. So yeah, maybe that's how I want to play her. I don't know. Or maybe she seduces the whole square, and the whole square's like mental about her. I don't know.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, look, is there any kind of storylines coming up at the moment that you can give us? Every interviewer asks this question. Is there any kind of little snippets, anything you can give us to look forward to?
There's lots of exciting stuff coming up for the Panesar family, and all I can say is keep watching. You do see a very different, interesting side to Suki, which I haven't yet played. And it was a surprise to me as well. So I think if I was surprised, I'm sure the viewers will also be surprised. So yeah, we've got lots of exciting drama.
Great stuff. Now I've got to talk about the NTA nomination.
Oh God, yes.
That's huge.
Yeah.
So how do you feel about that?
Well, very surprised and honoured. And it's almost a little bit unbelievable. But I'm very happy. I'm really happy that that's happened, because I haven't been on the soap long, so obviously it feels like what I am doing is hitting some kind of tone, or the right tones, and people are sort of enjoying that. So yeah, I feel appreciated, which is what any actor wants for the work that they provide. So yeah, it feels great.
Well, congratulations on that.
Thank you.
Now, I can't keep you too long. I want this interview, I could talk to you for ages, but I'm sure we can pick up and have a part 2 another time, because
yes, please.
I do want, because we've managed to line up with our wonderful friends at the Minack Theatre for you to go down there today. So straight after this interview, that's where you're off.
You're amazing.
So,
you're amazing.
Shucks.
Thank you.
But are you excited about that? What do you know about the Minack?
Really excited. I don't know too much about it. All I know is that it is it's an outdoor amphitheatre, and what I've seen, the pictures of it, I've always wanted to play there because of its outdoor nature and the fact that it's just by the coast, and the pictures are just stunning, and you're like, God, outdoor theatre is something quite exquisite, because you're not sort of stuffed into a little building that's dark, and also you have to play with the elements. Like I've been to the Globe a few times, and I'm like, God, it would be so lovely to play. You've got to battle with like birds passing by or planes going over, and we went to watch what was it, Cleopatra at the Globe, and it was Eve Best playing Cleopatra. She was outstanding. But there was this moment where we had like 3 or 4 helicopters just going. She went, I'll just wait for the helicopters. And it was just fabulous. And the audience just roared. And then she just sort of got back into it, So it's that breaking the fourth wall. And I think that sort of is much more prevalent in an outdoorsy space, because you've got all those elements to engage with and play with, as well as the audience. So I'm really looking forward to seeing the Minack Theatre.
There's so much history, and I won't tell you all about it, because someone's going to meet you down there and give you a bit of a whistle-stop tour.
Excited.
There's a wonderful story. I cannot wait for you to come back and explore more of Cornwall, because I know you just can't get everything into today. But I always like to finish my interviews with a bit of inspiration for those watching, and we're very fortunate we do get quite a few viewers. Not as many as EastEnders, I probably reckon, but getting close to it. Any advice for any aspiring actors out there watching this? Certainly at the moment when we've gone through this pandemic, where actors and the arts has really been hit hard. Any kind of tips out there, any kind of motivation for those who are either in the profession and they're just struggling, or those thinking, is it worth me getting involved?
I think it's always worth getting involved. I am an advocate for theatre, and I think it's important for us as individuals to get our stories out there. And we've all got a story to tell, and it's a very important one. And if we don't tell it, then nobody else will, or we'll just keep hearing the same old voices and the same old tired storylines. So we need diversity, we need inclusion, we need representation of the whole of humanity. And I think if you've got something to say, get out there and say it. And technology has advanced so much in the last few years. We've got, people can do podcasts, people can do YouTube videos, you can do, your own Instagram sort of videos and things. TikTok's really big.
Have you done that yet?
I'm not doing TikTok. I don't understand it. I don't get it. But for those that do, it works a treat, and you get millions of viewers. And it's not just about viewers; it's about getting the message out there, isn't it?
Absolutely.
And if you've got a message and a story to tell, then do it. And I think get together with people, friends. Try out new scripts that you want to work on, or write something of your own. I've got a few friends who have written poems and things who will just set up a light with their phone and just read the poem or express the poem in their own kind of voice, pop it on Instagram, and that's you creating content that is interesting for other people to tap into, and I just think go for it. Write to casting directors, write to theatre companies. I mean, that's what I used to do. That's how I got into it. I don't know if that's still as powerful as it was back then, but surely, if you're creating content continuously, everything is online. Casting directors, directors, other actors are going to see that, and that creates work. So.
Just being consistent, I think, in what you're saying is just keep going with it, isn't it? And there's a great saying I live by, and that is work full-time on your job and part-time on your fortune. So if you're not lucky enough to do it as a living yet, just do it part-time, chip away,
well, that's what I did.
That door will open.
That's what I did. I worked, because I think we do have to have business acumen as well as performers or actors, because like I say, it is feast or famine unless you land something big straight away. So what I did was worked at a box office in a theatre as a box office assistant, and I also did front of house, and I also worked behind the bar, and I also did youth theatre. So everything creative within the creative world made my money, which would then support my auditions. So I could go down to London because I lived in Huddersfield at the time, or I could go wherever I was, where the audition was in the country, supported by the fact that I'd made money from doing a day job. That slowly shifted, and now I do what I really love. Not to say that I didn't love all of that stuff, but now I can do more of the stuff that I wanted to do.
And with that being said, feast and famine, always looking for work, do you think you're pretty much safe as you can be in EastEnders at the moment? Do we know that? I mean, or can you say that, or are you there for a while, do you think?
Yes, for a little while, but look, nothing is guaranteed, is it?
No, absolutely.
I mean, life isn't, I could walk out of here and get run over by a bus.
But
I know.
But
you know what I mean? Like, nothing is guaranteed, and I think you just have to take the opportunities as they come, be grateful as they come, and make the most of it, and enjoy it whilst doing it, so,
Brilliant. Well, I'm certainly grateful for your time.
No, I'm
I really am. And you're welcome at the Cornwall Channel studio anytime you're in Cornwall.
Thank you.
And enjoy the Minac, enjoy the rest of Cornwall whilst you're here, and I will see you next time.
You're brilliant. Thank you so much for having me.
Bless you. Thank you very much.